The New START Treaty is a treaty signed between America and Moscow with the goal of preventing something. We're going to explain that. START Treaty is a series of bilateral agreements between the US and the Soviet Union, later Russia, aimed at reducing and limiting strategic nuclear weapons. They were all supposed to only have a maximum of 1,550 nuclear heads deployed. Not beyond that. Obviously, they had an understanding where they would check on each other, check one another, and report to each other on what they're doing. Now, that treaty was violated by one of them, and you know which one it is.
These are thugs. These are bad people. We're bringing them the hell out of our country where they came from. We renamed the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And well, if you think about it, after the Second World War, they changed it to defense, right? So we won the First World War, we won the Second World War, we won everything in between and everything before, never lost a war. We still don't lose wars. Sometimes we don't fight to win. You know, we'll stay around the country for 15 years, just bomb the hell out of everybody, make everybody miserable. Nobody knows why we're there, you know, the wars that never end. But we made it clear that the days of political correctness in our military, they're over. We don't want to get into wars. I rebuilt the military. We have the strongest military by far in the world. We make the best equipment, the best missiles, the best rockets, the best everything. We redid our nuclear. We're the #1 nuclear power, which I hate to admit because it's so horrible. It's such a horrible situation if it ever has to be used. Russia's second. China's a distant third, but they'll catch us within 4 or 5 years. They want to catch us, and they'll be able to catch us, and we're maybe working on a plan to denuclearize the three of us, so we'll see if that works.
A few days ago, we received a telegram from Russian ambassador to the United States, Alexander Darchev. Our diplomatic colleagues asked what exactly was meant by the statement made the previous day regarding the United States leader's instructions to the Pentagon to move immediately to nuclear weapons testing. In response, representatives of both the White House and the U.S. State Department avoided a substantive response and assured that they would report the information upstairs.
Trump is a different kind of leader. He's got a massive ego, even very confrontational. So he has basically touched where everybody else has avoided touching.
Talking about literally resuming underground nuclear detonation tests.
You'll find out very soon, but we're going to do some testing, yeah. Other countries do it. If they're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Okay, you can't clarify whether you'll resume.
I'm not going to say yet. I mean, I know exactly what we're doing, where we're doing it, but other countries are doing it, and if other countries do it, we do it.
And now Vladimir Putin is just reminding them who is the most powerful country in terms of nuclear power. Now, I think we need to look into some very important things here so we can understand the timing.
Russia has always adhered and will adhere to its obligations regarding the all-encompassing ban on nuclear tests. There are no plans to deviate from those obligations. At the same time, indeed, in my address to the Federal Assembly in 2023, I said that in case the United States or any other state that is party to corresponding treaties hold those tests, then Russia will have to take adequate response. In this connection, I order the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, Special Services of the Russian Federation, and civilian authorities, relevant civilian authorities of the Russian Federation, to make everything they can to gather additional information on this matter, to analyze the information on the platform of the Security Council and come up with coordinated suggestions regarding the beginning of nuclear tests.
Things used to be much better in our country, but right now things are moving in exactly the opposite direction. What matters to us is having a country where the state actually works. And here too, we can see how so many things are going wrong. From the infrastructure to the truly excessive bureaucratic regulations that paralyze our authorities and put a massive strain on all other public processes, all the way to our small and medium-sized businesses, which are also heavily burdened as a result. We don't want that. We want a functioning state with functioning structures that ensure the interests of the population are truly protected. Another point that we clearly reject, because it keeps coming up in the debate, is the issue of compulsory military service. We reject any form of conscription. At the moment, everything is based on voluntariness, but we are already hearing voices loudly saying, well, right now it is still voluntary. At this point in time, it is still a matter of choice. We need a convincing security architecture. And this security architecture must, at least in the long term, of course, also include Russia. There is simply no other way. We must avoid a war with Russia, because that would be a nuclear war. And I want to say this again, because it is always portrayed differently. No weapon, no army in the world will be able to protect us in a nuclear war. That can only be achieved through diplomacy, through arms control agreements. And that is achieved through good relations with our neighbors.
We are experiencing a toxic mix of war loans that will burden the economy and the state in the future, without creating anything productive for the country. We are in our third consecutive year of recession. We have rising unemployment and a crumbling infrastructure. We want to lower energy prices, an important issue for trade unions as well as for business associations who repeatedly complain that energy prices are too high. We say that energy should be purchased where it is cheapest on the market, and that does not mean US dominance over European energy policy, as Donald Trump is aiming for, but rather a return to Russian gas and oil via pipelines, which from our perspective can also be a diplomatic step, a door opener. To bring about a peaceful end to the war in Ukraine, we are opposed to CO2 pricing. Our energy costs are already far too high as it is. And in this situation where energy costs are already crushing the economy and weighing heavily on citizens, artificially raising prices to try to educate people is, in our view, the wrong approach. Another important point for us is trade policy. We are currently witnessing how Germany is being run over in this area. We had the tariff conflict with the USA, which ended with a so-called deal that was nothing more than a kowtow to daddy. We pay, so there will be a 15% tariff on European products, but 0% on US products. And they even cheat when it comes to the steel content. Now, for a number of products, tariffs are continuing to be raised. Additionally, the USA is pushing us into further economic wars that are not in our interest at all. On the one hand, we just had the economic war with Russia, while industry in Germany is faltering. Behind our backs, Putin and Trump are negotiating bilaterally about new economic relations. Germany is out of the picture. It's similar with China. Nexperia, the chip manufacturer in the Netherlands, was also taken over by the Dutch government under pressure from the USA, with the result that the automotive industry in Germany can't keep running because the chips aren't being delivered. And again, the same pattern. Without Europe, without Germany, Trump, it seems, is reaching a bilateral agreement with China.
That's what it is, fellas. I think you need to reevaluate your position in the world. You know, when there's a war in the world, especially in Europe, they call it World War, right? When Europeans fight each other, the Germans fight the British, it's called World War. You know, when Africans fight one another, they call it tribal wars. So rather just come to Africa if you're somewhere in America, because trust me, this time around, they will not get Africans to get involved in their war. They can fight themselves over there and we can eat bananas and peanuts in the meantime. Let me know how you feel about this. It's always a great pleasure. Please drop a comment. We want you to make a comment. It's always a pleasure. God bless.